This case goes to trial.
Scott Morris is charged with killing Kelly. Her skeletal remains were found last November. WRL's Bo Minnick attended today's hearing, and he joins us now live from Oxford. Bo?
Deborah and Colin, the court hearing today only lasted a few minutes, but perhaps it's what did not happen in court that could end up shedding more light on this case. Scott Morris appeared in court but didn't say anything. District Attorney Sam Curran announced his plans to proceed with this as a capital case, meaning Morris would face the penalty if convicted. Now, already this afternoon, Morris's attorneys have filed a motion trying to prohibit the state from seeking the penalty, so this may not be the last time we hear about this. Morris was arrested back in November and was charged with murdering his wife, Kelly Morris. Her remains were found in a fox pen in southern Granville County. She had been missing for more than a year. Today, the DA said he wanted to unseal certain search warrants that have not yet been made public. Now, one of Morris's defense attorneys said he did not want the judge to unseal those warrants at this time, as he's not yet had a chance to review the materials. The judge granted that request. At this point, it's not clear when those search warrants will be unsealed. Deborah?
Bo Minnick live in Granville County. Thanks.
All right, the news video that you just saw is regarding the case of William Scott Morris and Kelly Kieran Morris, who was found on November the 19th, 2009 in a fox pen in Granville County, North Carolina. And she had been missing since September the 3rd of 2008. So almost 13 or 14 months she had been missing. And it is later found out that her husband, William Scott Morris, was the individual who was responsible for her demise. But this case leads into a much deeper and sinister case that has not been talked about. And that is the case of Granville County Deputy Mark Waymer. Now, Mark Waymer was found almost 3 weeks after Kelly Morris was found on September the 28th. And he was found also in a wooded area in Stem, North Carolina. How are these cases related? Let me tell you. From the information that I've received from people who are familiar and live around that area, the Oxford, Henderson, Vance County area, it is well known that there was an alleged relationship between Mark Waymer, who was a 33-year-old black sheriff deputy, and Kelly Morris, who was 28 at the time of her demise. Now, this is allegedly. None of these things have been proven. However, on a show last night when I was talking about the Javion McGee case, which is in Henderson, North Carolina, and which has been going on since September the 11th, a lot of people have been calling in about the corruption and the racism in that area and the propensity of the police to cover up things like that. And so I received several calls after last night's call confirming that yes, it is well believed that Mark Waymer was suspended in the air from the tree in response to his relationship with Miss Morris. Now, just listen to this.
Anything, and y'all don't know how it is to live here. Y'all can see it from the outside, but if they did this to somebody from the outside, what you think they're doing to us every day?
So why do y'all? That's what I'm saying. So at what point you can't do?
If it's the magistrate, the judges, the lawyers, the nurses, the doctors, the sheriffs. Who the hell do you go to? Tell me.
You right. You right. I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's all I'm asking. If y'all have some kind of advice, please, because I'm not from here. I was born in the Philippines. I was raised a military brat. I've lived here. I've never been called the N-word until I lived here. I never would have thought racism still existed until I moved here. This place is crazy. It's like a Black Mirror episode. They've hung a black sheriff, for sleeping with somebody's wife, and they got away with it. You don't know this town. They still have a segregated pool. We still have a segregated pool, and I dare you to freaking go there. You will not make it out.
That is a call from a young lady who is very familiar with that area. Now, you heard what she said, and that deputy that she talked about was Mark Waymer. Now, it is said that Mark Waymer worked for the Granville County Sheriff's Office, and also Miss Morris was somehow an employee or closely tied to that sheriff's office. And these two allegedly were involved in an extramarital affair. Now, it is said that even Mr. Waymer's wife constantly complained about her husband's relationship with this woman. Now, before his demise, it is said that Mr. Waymer said that he has to get out of the Granville Sheriff office because, you know, he said that, quote unquote, allegedly they crazy there. Now, it is my perception, or is my conjecture, that probably those men in there found out about his relationship with Scott Morris's wife, and you know, they weren't too happy about it. Now, the story goes, according to this article from WRAL, William Scott Morris possibly committed the demise of his wife, unalived her on September the 3rd while in their home, and the kids were sleeping in the next room. She was reported missing the next day, but also the next day, their house burned to the ground. Why would someone burn a house to the ground unless they're trying to conceal evidence? Now, the family of Morris always suspected, the family of Kelly Morris always suspected her husband, William Morris, for the deed. And in a letter written to the court by Miss Kieran, and that name Kieran is very prominent in that area. Actually, the DA that prosecuted the case was also named Kieran. But here is the letter. I'm going to read bits and pieces of it so you can get a glimpse of how Scott Morris acted while they searched for his wife's missing body for a period of 14 months until she was found. The mother says, "We knew Kelly was not alive, and we were determined to find her. During the first few weeks of Kelly's disappearance, we would look to the skies to see if there were buzzards flying. Search teams would head out in the direction of the buzzards in hoping of finding Kelly's body. Can you imagine how it feels to hope and pray that buzzards will lead you to your daughter? I do. I cannot come close to describing the pain, heartbreak, and anguish I felt the 14 months we searched. We were unwilling to give up, and we were unwilling for the searches to stop. All of this effort occurred while Scott's family, and Scott's friends offered nothing. Scott and those who acted as his accomplices had no regard for what our family, friends, and community were going through. I've often wondered how Scott and his parents looked at the child for over 14 months, knowing they had a part in her mother's demise and cover-up. We do not believe Scott acted alone. Kelly was unalive. Her car was abandoned less than a mile from her home. Her body was dumped in a 500-acre fox pen so that wild animals would eat her remains, and her home was destroyed by fire. We do not think the details of this crime could have been executed without assistance and premeditation. And I'm going to stop there. You see, the mother believes that Scott Morris did not act alone. As she stated, this could not have the intricate way that this thing was planned out, could not have happened without Scott receiving assistance. Now, my question is, who gave that Scott that assistance? Now, it is well known that the Granville County Sheriff Department, law enforcement have been known to operate and plot, devise schemes like this, as you see with the 2019, 2014 cases of former Sheriff Brendel Wilkins of Granville County. Brendel Wilkins was convicted of plotting the demise of another black deputy who had him on tape using racist rhetoric. And so, this incident right here speaks very well to that prospect of Scott being connected, well connected with, as some would put it, the good old boys, and was very angry that his wife had the nerve, had the unmitigated gall to be involved with a black man and a black sheriff. Now I'm going to read a little bit more of this letter. Since Kelly's partial remains were found, we all have unanswered questions. What really happened on that night of September the 3rd, 2008? Did Scott strangle Kelly? Did he stab her? Did he bludgeon her? How did she get transported to the fox pen? Whose vehicle was used? Who helped? We don't have answers, but we do know that Jimmy Morris, Scott's father, was at the house on the night of September the 3rd, the night Kelly was unalived. What part did he play in this? Who else was there to dispose of Kelly's remains? Who burnt the house down the following morning? We know that an accelerant was used to start the fire, and the fire was determined to be arson. What should we tell the children when they ask what he did to her? What should we tell them when they ask, why did he do it? Now, once again, there's another implication in this, which is Scott's father, Jimmy Morris, who was reported to be at the house with this son as he possibly did this. Now, mind you, her car was found about, a mile or two away from their home with her keys and her wallet in her purse. And it was said that they did that to throw them off. But the next morning, to burn down the house, that was an obvious point or finger pointing in the direction of her husband. Now, Scott was sentenced to 13 to 16 years, and that was in 2011. So possibly he may be out today. I didn't even do the research to look that up. But the prosecutor, also whose name Karen, the victim's mother and father, the victim's father, named Pat Karen, said that they didn't have a weapon We knew we couldn't prove where she was demised, and we really couldn't prove anything. And so that's why they are satisfied with this. Now, once again, she was found on November the 16th, 2009 in Tar River Fox Pen in southern Granville County. And they say that an autopsy cannot reveal how Kelly died, but the state medical examiner concluded that she, quote unquote, most likely was unalived. Now, this is the part of the article that you will see which points to possible foul play in the unalivement of Mark Waymer. This says authorities have not offered a motive for the slaying, but in search warrant affidavits related to the case, investigators allege that the couple had marital problems and were considering a divorce. The couple had marital problems and were considering a divorce. Why would they be divorcing? Because according to the information that I've received, Kelly Kieran Morris was involved, allegedly, with Deputy Mark Waymer, who was consequently found suspended in the air from a tree 3 weeks after Kelly disappeared. Now, and what's even more egregious, that once points to a more sinister cover-up, possibly involving law enforcement, is there is nothing on the internet whatsoever about Mark Waymer. The only thing that I was able to pull up concerning Mark Waymer was this death record that says Mark A. Waymer Jr. was 33 years old, September the 28th, 2008. That is his record of death. This is all that you are going to see concerning Mark Waymer. And why is that? Let me tell you. Another site that I pulled up Kelly's name, and it brought up this blog concerning Granville County. As you see, they are talking about the incident. But here on the one of the last posts, this person says, does anyone live near Oxford that can go grab the document? The police report and posted, emergency personnel received the call at 3:17 a.m. Smith asked the dispatch not to print the details of Waymer's demise out of respect for the deceased. But the sheriff's incident report, which is open to citizens' inspections, said that Waymer unalived himself. Now, we are expected to believe that a 33-year-old man who was recently involved with a woman whose husband and others devised a meticulous plan to cause her disappearance and put her in a fox pen where she could be eaten by wild animals. We are to believe that this husband and his cohorts and his powerful friends that live around the Granville area did not have anything to do with the demise of Mr. Waymer. And I advise anyone who is close to the Oxford area to look this information up, because I believe the two people that I've spoke to that is the cause of this. I've received several calls from the Granville, Vance, Warrenton, Franklin counties areas that talks about nothing but police corruption, cover up, unlawful prosecutions, unlawful sentencings, just outright lawlessness. Sort of like the picture behind me. It's like the wild, wild west, as they say. And so they said in another of these posts from that time, they said, well, it was said that Mr. Waymer left a note. But why would law enforcement keep that a secret if it was true? People say, well, I know for a fact that, the two were involved in a relationship. But that's a case that is almost 16 years old. And why are we talking about it? Because we are delving deep into the case of Javion McGee, who was the 21-year-old truck driver found with a rope around his neck 11 times tied to a tree, September the 11th, 2024, like 2 months ago. And so this is something that we don't feel is what they say it is. Just like the people who know about Mark Waymer's case do not feel that it is what they said it is. And so feel free to reach out to me, 919-587-7782. And I hope and pray that this may shed some light on the Mark Waymer situation and possibly also get his family justice, just as the family of Kelly Kieran Morris received some semblance of justice. He pled guilty and received a 13 to 16 year sentence in 2011. That's 13 years ago. So this man, who out of his own mouth admitted to unaliving his wife, the mother of his two children, in cold blood, burning down the house, is now allowed to go free. The American justice system. Peace and blessings. Y'all have a blessed day.